Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. It's about the story of Hansel and Gretel. That's at least how it starts, and how they, went into the witch's house and was made a candy and they killed her. However, after that, they became freelance witch hunters, going from town to town, killing witches and being very successful at it, and witches' magic didn't have any effect on them. And they've been contracted by one town who's had several children mysteriously vanish to come and help them destroy their witch problem, and they're investigating and figuring out why these children are being disappeared and who's doing it, and try to defeat the head witch played by Famke Janssen. This is the American debut of Tommy Wirkola. He's the Norwegian film director who also did the film Dead Snow, which was about Nazi zombies. We just had Kim Ji-woon's big American film debut, and that was, although it didn't do well, that was, I thought, a fairly well-made film. When I look at this film and this director, he kind of lost everything that I liked about him. You look at a lot of foreign directors, and when they come to America, it's usually like all the passion and the panache and why you like them is gone. And that is so true with Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. I don't remember Dead Snow that well. It's not really my favorite movie. I haven't seen it in a couple of years, but I remember when I heard about this project and I heard he was doing it, I was at least excited for it. I mean, this is before I actually saw the trailer and things like that, but before I saw anything, the idea of it sounded promising to me. And I think one of the things that about Dead Snow that made it successful is that there was a fun element to it. I mean, there's Nazi zombies. That's fun. That sounds like a joke. That sounds like a good time. And Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters could have used some of that fun. It could have had more fun with itself, had some more black comedy. It just doesn't have anything really that interesting about it. It's such a paint by numbers summer blockbuster type movie that it's boring. I felt it kind of washed over me. I didn't really have any feeling about it when I left it. I was kind of apathetic about it. I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, I'm not really offended by it. I don't really love it. But as I left and I was thinking about it, I was like, that was a bad movie. It just wasn't very good. There was nothing to really love about it. It's not like so bad you'd be offended or anything, but it's not good. There's no real love of the fantasy genre, and it's kind of a weak idea, Hansel and Gretel being witch hunters. It's a little stupid, but there was no fun to the direction. All the action sequences, the camera's moving way too often. You can't really focus on anything, which might have been done because the action sequences just were sucked and the editing was trying to cover that up. If that was the point of editing those action sequences that way, it didn't seem to help cover them up. It felt like it made them worse because the camera was so all over the place. It wasn't very well shot. The only time I felt anything was shot or staged very well is when Hansel and Gretel would be walking away from something looking cool. That always seemed to work out really well for them. Anytime they'd be walking with their guns, or Gretel would throw her gun to Hansel or something like that, it would always look really good. So if this movie had just been them like posing with guns and walking away from explosions, it would have been a great movie. There is one redeemable factor of this film, and I actually quite like it, was there's a troll character named Edward. Most of this film is CG, and pretty bland, normal CG that you've seen before. It's not very exciting whatsoever. But the character of Edward, he's this troll, and it's very practical effects. It reminds me of something like Neverending Story kind of a design. Some of the best special effect character design I've seen in like a long time, and I really, really like that character. And if this movie had more of the love and the care that went into the Edward character throughout the whole film, we would have had a much better film. The fact that it reminded me of things like Neverending Story, and that you could tell it was a practically done suit. To me, like when you see someone in a suit like that, they feel a lot more real. CG always feels fake to me, unless you do a really good job and I can really get into it. But in this case, this film is so flat and paint by numbers, I couldn't at all. And Jeremy Renner seems to have enough charisma that he can kind of be good in anything, even though this is probably one of the weaker performances I've seen him in as of late. The 3D was actually good. Apparently it was shot in 3D. The problem with this is I saw it in 3D, and before they play this clip of the new G.I. Joe and they play it in 3D. That clip was cool and fun, and like the 3D really worked with what they're doing, and when guys would fall off this mountain, they look like G.I. Joe action figures, and it's like, oh my god, this is crazy. And then I had to watch Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, and the 3D was not half as cool as that. So I don't know, Paramount's marketing department did a great job, because I totally want to see that G.I. Joe movie, but it kind of ruined a movie that I already had low expectations for. This film just couldn't have fun with itself. It couldn't have fun with an idea. That's a funny idea. That's the thing with like this and Cowboys and Aliens, is like they're funny ideas. Like if someone were to have fun with it and do it in maybe even a kitschy way or an ironic way and more of a silly portrayal, I think people would be down with some of these movies, but it didn't really expand on that, and it was too concerned with its plot. I think that's one of the things that a bad movie is always more concerned with its plot than like character development. I've noticed bad movies always like are just only plot, so strictly plot, and the fact that this was that and a paint by numbers kind of blockbuster made it really kind of bland and generic. This should have been a unique film, the way it's titled. You know, it's Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. I don't get a Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter movie like every year. I want this to be a unique experience. And it really wasn't. That's, I think, one of the most disappointing parts about it. So if you have seen Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.